Imagine a river flowing peacefully between ancient, mossy stones through the forest. When the water encounters a stone blocking its path, it doesn't stop. It doesn't try to destroy the stone with brute force or blind rage. It doesn't scream. It doesn't get frustrated. It doesn't give up on its final destination. The water simply flows around the stone with grace and naturalness, without visible effort, without muscular tension, without unnecessary mental or emotional resistance. And here is the most profound paradox you will learn today. Water, being the softest, gentlest, and most tender element of nature, is capable of wearing down the hardest stone over time. This is Wu Wei, the ancient art of acting without overexertion. Today, you will discover how a 2,500-year-old philosophy can completely transform the way you face your daily challenges now. How you work, how you relate, how you simply exist in this world. Because perhaps you are overexerting yourself in everything you do currently and paying a very high price for it without even consciously realizing it. Wu Wei is probably the most misunderstood concept in Eastern philosophy. Many people translate it literally as inaction or doing absolutely nothing. And that's exactly where the great cultural and philosophical misunderstanding begins. Wu Wei is definitely not about laziness, complacency, or lack of ambition. It's not about paralyzing inertia or letting life pass by without active participation. It's not about giving up on your dreams or accepting mediocrity as your destiny. Wu comes from Chinese and means not or without in the sense of absence. Wei means action or effort in the sense of force intentionally applied to things. But when you put the two characters together, they create something much deeper. The sublime art of acting without unnecessarily forcing against the natural flow, of doing without brutally fighting, of achieving without the tension that exhausts you daily. It's the fundamental difference between rowing against the current, losing all your energy, and to navigate it intelligently, using the force that already exists in the universe. Between forcefully pushing a door that opens inward and simply gently pulling it in the right direction with wisdom and careful observation. The Taoists, back in the distant 6th century BC in China, they observed something absolutely fundamental about nature and its universal and immutable laws. Nature does not fight brutally, but everything happens at the perfect moment. The 4 seasons change cyclically. Plants grow organically. The moon rises punctually. Everything at the right time, without anxious haste, without unnecessary force, without exhausting struggle. And they asked the most important question we can ask today. Why do we, modern humans, insist so much on complicating everything unnecessarily? We live in a constant and exhausting war against everything and everyone. A brutal war against time that never stops passing inexorably. A mental war against circumstances we cannot control. An emotional war against ourselves, our flaws, our limitations, our natural human imperfections. We impose artificial solutions. We try to control the absolutely uncontrollable. We wear ourselves out deeply fighting against the natural flow of life, which already has its own rhythm. And the great lesson that Wu Wei teaches us with ancestral wisdom is, the biggest problems in our lives do not come from material or spiritual deficiencies. They come from excesses, excess of control, excess of worry, excess of effort. Here is the great paradox that initially confuses most people. Wu Wei definitely doesn't mean doing absolutely nothing and standing still. It means doing everything that needs to be done, but in a radically different way. It's what happens when a jazz musician goes completely into improvisation, when an Olympic athlete is in the zone, making extraordinary movements that seem automatic. When you are so deeply focused on something that you completely lose track of things. The sense of time, the sense of space, the sense of one's own separate ego. Modern and contemporary science calls this a state of flow. The ancient Taoists already knew this deeply more than 2,000 years ago. Scientific researchers observed the brains of jazz musicians during intense, deep improvisations. They discovered that the brain areas responsible for self-criticism and inhibition simply shut down completely. The conscious mind stops incessantly judging, obsessively controlling, and destructively interfering. And pure creativity flows without barriers, without blockages, without internal artificial resistance. Look closely at Tai Chi Chuan or Aikido as practical examples. They are Eastern martial arts based entirely and completely on the principles of Wu Wei. They do not pit force against force in a brutal battle of tense muscles. They do not fight directly against the opponent, trying to destroy them with raw, brute power. They intelligently use the energy of the attack itself to neutralize it smoothly and efficiently. Without rigid resistance, without unnecessary excessive effort, without wasting precious vital energy. Remember the river from our initial inspiring metaphor about flowing water? Water has no inflated ego. It has no wounded pride. It has no childish stubbornness. It does not stubbornly insist on going down a path just because it should, because someone said so, because it has always been that way, because the ego demands blind persistence. Water intelligently goes where it can go, respecting universal natural laws. It circumvents, it deviates, it adapts, it molds itself, it transforms itself as needed to move forward. And eventually, without forcing, without haste, without anxiety, it reaches the vast ocean. Wu Wei is exactly that, in essence pure and crystalline like water, acting in perfect harmony with the natural flow of things in the universe. It is the profound wisdom of knowing exactly when to act with vigor and determination, and when to simply let it happen naturally at the right time, without excessive interference. As the Tao Te Ching says, the sacred book of Taoism, nothing in the world is more flexible and gentle than pure crystalline water. But to attack what is hard and strong, nothing definitively surpasses it, because there is nothing that can replace it. The weak always defeats the strong. The gentle inexorably defeats the hard with patient time on its side. You're probably thinking this right now as you listen attentively to me here. Beautiful and abstract theory, but how do I apply this concretely in everyday life? I have tight deadlines, bills to pay, real urgent problems to solve right now. And it is precisely at this point that Wu Wei becomes truly revolutionary. First fundamental and non-negotiable principle: deeply accept that you don't control everything. Your biggest problems and sufferings don't magically appear out of nowhere without apparent reason. They are born directly from your excessive, obsessive attempts to control everything. You definitely don't control the chaotic traffic of the crowded big city. You don't control the weather tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. You don't completely control the free and spontaneous actions of other human beings. And the more fiercely you fight against this immutable and universal reality, the more you suffer unnecessarily. The more mentally exhausted you become, the more physically ill you become. Wu Wei says with ancient wisdom, stop fighting the uncontrollable immediately. Conserve your limited and precious vital energy for what you can influence, for where your action truly makes a concrete and measurable difference in the real world. The second principle of Wu Wei applied is complete, radical simplicity. Taoism deeply values simplicity as the supreme virtue above all else. less artificial ambitions forced by the rampant, mind-boggling modern capitalist consumer society, less neurotic need to impress other people who don't even truly care, less unhealthy attachment to specific outcomes that may not even be good for you. This absolutely does not mean completely giving up on your important and authentic, genuine dreams. It means stopping mentally and emotionally torturing yourself when things don't go as planned. They don't go exactly as you meticulously planned down to the smallest detail in your head. The Taoists say, manifest simplicity, embrace simplicity, reduce selfishness, contain endless desires. The less you carry physically and mentally, the lighter you become to float. It becomes easier to flow like water through life's inevitable obstacles. Complexity is usually a sign that you are trying to force things, forcing the universe to bend to your small, limited individual will, instead of humbly bowing to the wisdom of the vast, infinite universe. Simplify your goals, simplify your routine, simplify your relationships, simplify your constantly agitated mind. The third crucial principle of Wu Wei is about the perfect timing of actions. Wu Wei is absolutely not about never acting under any circumstances. It's about acting precisely at the right moment, in the perfect timing of the universe, in the right way, with the correct approach, with the right effort, necessary and sufficient. Think of the experienced surfer patiently waiting for the perfect wave to come to him. He doesn't artificially create the wave with his limited individual muscular strength, but neither does he stand completely passively on the beach watching. He waits attentively, observes carefully, deeply feels the natural rhythm of the immense ocean. And when the right wave finally arrives at the precise, perfect moment determined, he acts with total physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual commitment with everything he has, but in perfect synchronized harmony with the natural force already present there. Not against it, not trying to dominate it with an inflated ego full of himself, but dancing gracefully with it as equal partners in the eternal, universal cosmic dance. The Taoist farmer doesn't plant seeds in the freezing winter when the earth sleeps. He patiently awaits the arrival of spring with its warmth and renewed life, because he deeply understands the natural rhythm of the seasons that always return cyclically. The fourth and final fundamental principle is profound inner silence. Ancient Taoist sages speak extensively about action without forced, artificial, egoic intention. To achieve this elevated state, you need to quiet the constant mental noise. Genuine meditation is not a superfluous luxury for wealthy people with spare time. It is essential, fundamental training for truly living in Wu Wei in real daily life. A few minutes a day observing your thoughts without judging them as good or bad, letting the mind flow naturally, without forcing, without suppressing, without obsessively controlling. This radically and completely transforms your ability to act without unnecessary effort in the rest of the entire day, in all the activities you habitually perform. When your mind is calm like a lake without waves, perfectly reflecting the moon, you see clearly, you decide wisely, you act efficiently, without waste, without drama, without additional suffering. Mental noise is the enemy of Wu Wei, of natural, spontaneous action. It is the ego constantly trying to control, predict, secure, hold, restrain, and limit life. When you silence the mind through constant daily practice, patient, persistent, and gentle, Wu Wei happens naturally and spontaneously, without forcing, like breathing or a beating heart. Today, we live in a world of hustle culture, a toxic productivity at all costs, of no pain, no gain, of always working harder, always harder, always. And look around, honestly, we are absolutely exhausted collectively as an entire society. Professional burnout has become a global epidemic recognized by the World Health Organization itself. Wu Wei is not the instant magic solution to absolutely all problems, but it is an incredibly powerful antidote to the unhealthy way we are living.